I'm excited. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Scandal Fam podcast. I am one of your hostesses. I'm Jaha Knight, and I am joined today with Eldia. She is about to bring the pain. No, I'm just playing. But Langston and Katrina will be joining us shortly throughout the episode. So don't be afraid that they're not coming, because they are, with their opinions and their thoughts and whatnot. Today's episode. Yeah, Kala, because they short. Ours wasn't good enough, LD. They shortened it. Kala is coming. So the last night's episode was A Few Good Women. That was an interesting title. So
it was.
And it started out with the quotes from, I started watching and I looked at the quotes that were going on there. And I really didn't like the first scene of last night's episode. Where he was like, you stole a person. You stole a person. I was like, this is cheesy. I was very shame-ified at that moment, to be honest.
Yeah.
I was like, this is horrible writing. Who wrote this? I actually went and looked up to see who wrote this episode. I didn't find it, but I looked for it because I was like, who wrote this episode?
Yeah.
What were your opinions? What are your opinions on the episode from last night?
Overall, I thought it was a really, so as I was telling you earlier, I really enjoyed it. I didn't love it. I would more so put it in the like category, but not like really like, just kind of like, if that makes sense.
Like,
I thought it
was it like that?
Yeah.
Was it like
yeah.
that? Oh, well, it's back on.
Yeah. Yeah, like I could have left it. I thought it had a few strong moments, a few strong points, but overall, I'm like you. I kind of was like, okay, so is this just an episode we have to get through to get to the finale? Like I feel like they could have wrapped up the whole B613 in this episode, and then the finale could have been dealing with the fallout of it. But I feel like we're gonna get the reverse. Like they've already said that gonna get killed off. I'm so sorry, you gladiators. You guys are gonna feel it, and I'm thinking, okay, well, who are they gonna kill? That's gonna have like a major impact on us. And I think we're all assuming that Papa Pope is gonna be one of those people in some way, shape, or form. Now, how they do that, I don't know.
Because of the title of the episode. The title of the episode.
Yeah, I think we're all hoping that it's Jake, but I don't think that's gonna happen. I hate to say it. So then I'm like, well, who could they kill? And then I'm like, I can't come up with anyone. I'm like, maybe Hook's family, like maybe she would go there, because
we're not attached enough. Something that we're not attached enough to Hook's family for us to care. Like I'll feel like, Kim's dead, but I wouldn't. Yeah, but I still wouldn't be like, oh man, Kim's dead. I'll be like, oh, okay. Like
right. Yeah, it's true. I feel the same way, but I feel like who else could they possibly kill off? Because you know that the B613 is hopefully, please, last episode.
Yeah, please.
Where they ever mention it again. And then I'm just, again, I keep going through this. I'm like, well, if they kill Russell, would we care? No.
Look,
I can't think of
I don't care anymore. Well, I'm not going to. I mean, I can't be no LD. You just got. Okay, well, whatever.
I'm just saying, now that we know he's all bad and like,
he sucks.
He sucks, yeah. Sorry, Russell. We liked you in the beginning, but then you had to go and ruin it.
I know. He was like doing just the abs and the boobs.
Yeah.
I was like,
by the way, that was so funny. I think for people who say that Shonda does not listen to what the fans say, I mean, we all know this episode was clearly written after he had already. So I don't think it was any coincidence that Quinn had that scene where she was like, oh my gosh, your ass for a week and never looked like that. That's why I hate men. Like, I don't think that dialogue was a coincidence. So for people who say she doesn't listen to what the fans are saying, she really does. She just doesn't.
She does, because they incorporate. That's true. She incorporates some of our language in the actual show, because we call him Papa Pope all the time, and now like last night, Quinn called him Papa Pope, and I was like, oh, that's right. I don't know how long they've been doing that, but I just noticed it last night that they called Olivia's dad Papa Pope. But I think they have been calling him Papa Pope for a while. I just noticed it last night, though. Right. I was like, oh, look at that. So yeah, she does listen. If you're watching us live now, you can chat back with us at Scandal Podcast on Twitter, or if you are looking at the Q&A on the screen, you can chat back with us on that as well. How did you all feel about the writing for last night's episode? What did you think? Do you think it's writing or editing that kind of, because to me, there were some brilliant moments, and especially like at the end, but then there were some moments where I was just like, why is this in here? Because that whole moment with the whole first part of this show for me, where it was Cyrus and Fitz and what's her name? Susan Russell, Susan something. It was Susan. When that whole first part for me, I was just like, okay, this is no longer funny. Y'all taking the joke a little too far. Cyrus's little speech of, you know, I was just like, okay, this is getting on my nerves. And then once we got through that, because it's almost like being a pregnant woman and you want to have a kid, but you don't actually want to give birth. It's like that. Because so at the end of it, I was just like, oh, this is pretty good. I like the episode, but that moment I didn't like. I absolutely, positively did not like the moment of Jake drinking with Russell on the floor. And then at the end, Russell was like, you can tie me back up and bring in Crazy Town Man now. Like, who? Like, stab me all up in the chest. Have me near death's door, knocking at it, asking for entrance. Death is looking out like, who's there?
I agree, because I didn't, like I said, there was nothing I loved, but I found that scene to be very interesting because it tied into the scene that he had with Liv in the bedroom.
I get it. No, I know what the purpose of it was. Okay. So he can basically, because he knew that they could not keep him. You know what I mean? Like, he knew that they couldn't keep Russell. So for me, I know it's tied in. Who is that? What is that? Is Langston. That you, Langston?
Hi.
Hello.
Hello, Hapakala.
Is she still coming?
Yeah, she'll be here. She's gonna be a little late. So it tied into the scene that he had with Liv and telling Liv the difference between him and Russell is that he loved her. I got it, and he was basically trying to humanize Liv for Russell or make him feel a little more connected to her because he knew he was going to go back to Rowan. I mean, how else could that have ended? You know, but at the same time, I thought it was a little weird and cheesy to bring him old, cheap beer and try to make a bond. It was a little odd because you just stabbed me all in the chest last episode, but this episode, let's have a beer.
It was a weird thing because I would have broke the bottle myself and stabbed him in the neck.
Well, but keep in mind, Huck and Quinn had already, been torturing him. So Jake might have felt like, yeah, okay, no, I got nothing.
No, he does. He didn't feel sorry for him. I just thought, but I just sat there watching it thinking, what the hell is this? I mean, this bonding, I get it. They've both been tortured. They've both been, through the ringer with Papa Poe. But I did, what I did find funny was that they did do some spot-on impressions of him.
Yeah, that was funny. But here's the thing. The thing that I am finding about B613 is they make it seem like every single person who is in this organization or is in this branch of the government is in it because none of them are in it because they wanted to be in it, if that makes sense. They all have these stories. Like Huck was recruited, and Jake was recruited to do this task, and then when he got done with the task, he had no. It's so in a sense, it's that's why we look at them when they're doing their job, and we're like, this is fucking ridiculous, and it's funny because it's like, where did he find you people from? It's because if you're recruiting someone to be in your organization, right, and it's this top secret, top spy, top of the notch, how are you getting these people who are incompetent? That doesn't make sense. It doesn't. You know what I mean?
But the thing about it is, you're dealing with Pope and anti-Pope, and the fact that B613 and OPA are the antithesis of one another. Right. Papa finds broken people, breaks them all the way down, and then remakes them. Olivia finds broken people and fixes them and makes them better than they were before. Or if they already had a skill set, she figures out how to use it. Whereas Rowan will completely destroy who you are as a person.
Right, but
to get what he wants out of it.
I mean, that makes sense, but then it's when they don't complete the job, even
They died.
Russell was like, well, right. So it makes no sense to me, I guess is the point I'm making. It's like, does he have this organization just to recruit people and then kill them? Like, you see what I mean? Like, you think you would get some people, there would be someone who would be like top of the line. You know what I mean? And then Jake kind of referenced it and was like, well, you're supposed to be me.
That was the whole
and Russell was like, he talks about you. It's like you're his lost puppy or something. And I'm like, really? Not Jake? No.
But you know what? That was supposed to be the point of that.
That was the point of that conversation.
Is that rooms, and then if they dissatisfy him, they die, or he gets rid of them. That's the nature of the beast of being in a supposedly top secret death squad. It's like,
I also feel like it goes back to character development of Jake. Like, when he came on the show, he was very, secretive. We didn't know a lot about him. We thought that, he had this relationship with Fitz, that he blah, 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 blah. Okay. Then when they finally did reveal Jake's past, they didn't do it in the way that they did it, like, I don't think it was I wish Katrina was here, she could tell us. It wasn't a standalone Jake episode like it was with Cyrus or like it was with Melly, correct? So,
right. We've never gotten his background like that.
Right.
Yes.
Even though they
did actually with the son.
Right.
What did you say?
So they did flashbacks, but
I said we got that episode when they talked about him in the sun, when he opened up the episode talking about the sun.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a
glimpse into his background, though.
That was a glimpse, but it's like we've never gotten a full-on thing. What she was saying is we've never gotten a full-on, like Cyrus background, Huck type background on him, where we've seen his backstory. To the point that it's like a full-out story instead of an excerpt of his story.
It's not his season. Y'all already know that. Lord,
his season should have ended with 2. But, But where are we at this point? I'm sorry. What was the question?
Go ahead, LD. You were making a point. Oh, LD just dropped out or something? Okay, so... LD, are you still there? She's frozen. So, okay, I'm going to ask...
All they've shown us is...
Oh, she's back. There you go.
Go ahead.
I was waiting for you.
Okay. All they've shown us is, like, Jake talking about Rowan and Rowan talking about Jake, but they've never had a scene in a flashback where you see, like they did with Huck. You understand what I mean? Like, I think they should understand where, like, Jake...
She keeps popping in and out. Eldia.
Yeah.
Consensualized for Rowan. Still don't understand why I'm coming because I don't. Why would really? Rowan gave him his job. He did it.
Eldia.
Yeah.
You keep popping in and out like your connection is spotty. I don't know what that is because it just all what you said just was like. Oh wow! What did she say? Well, let me ask this question. Now with last night's episode, I was asking Eldia before we got on air and when we first started the show, Langston, do you think that the writing for last night's episode was really good, or do you think that there was something lost in translation in the editing? Because there were some really brilliant moments last night, but then there was some really just like, what? Like, it's like, why is this here? Before I finish, my god sister said to me that this is a Shondaland concept. Like, Shonda does do this in certain, she says she's done that in Grey's. I've never watched Grey's, but she said there are some episodes of Grey's where you just have to suspend your belief of reality. so go ahead, answer that.
No, I mean, you completely have to suspend that disbelief when, someone's supposedly dying on an operating table and then they break into song. So, yeah, that happens. What is that?
What are you talking about?
Never mind. I think it was on mine. But basically, the only thing that stuck out like a sore thumb to me was the scene between Jake and Russell. Other than that, I felt like the writing was spot on. I wish that we had gotten some more of Susan, but I understand because of her position, like they kept, driving that whole thing home that she shouldn't have done what she did, but her back door was to go get Olivia involved. So that whole storyline for me was working. I was feeling everyone that scene with Jake and Russell that just felt like it was just tacked on or just plopped in out of nowhere. I don't know. I just felt like I would have rather seen some intensity, like Jake snapping out, over being stabbed or something. But I just felt like this chummy moment just didn't feel right, didn't feel normal at all. And it was like the only chunk of the show that just made me, I can't say uncomfortable, but just made me just give it a side eye real quick, like, what is this? But like I said, overall, I felt like the storyline and the fact that even though Papa sent in a ringer to kind of screw Olivia over in that whole situation, because I'm sure there was a purpose behind him not just sending the guy in to rescue Russell, but he sent that guy in there to sabotage that case.
Yep.
And the thing about it was a twofold situation. Number one, he was able to get into Olivia's apartment to see that Russell isn't on the job, basically. And that was the phone call that he got that took him to the kitchen. He was talking to Papa Pope. Papa was letting him know that, hey, if he's not there, I know exactly where he is, and we're gonna have to figure out how to get you over there. So that was that. Then, and ultimately it worked out to the point that he did get over there and he did rescue Russell. Now, whether he rescued Russell to only kill him somewhere else, because at the end of the day, if he were going to kill him, you would just think that he's going to kill him right there.
Yeah, but there's always a plan behind the plan.
Right.
We have some comments, and if you are just joining us here on Scandal Fan Podcast, you can chat back with us at Scandal Podcast because the questions are rolling on my Twitter account, but you can also chat back with us right here on YouTube. So just go ahead and send your comments in so that we can read them on air because we love fan interaction so that we can get your different perspective about the last night's episode. So go ahead, LD, read what you have in front of you for.
Okay, Kamara Harrington. Hey, Kamara, what's up? She says, hi, Shay B. And then Shane B says, what up, Kamara?
Oh, y'all are talking. Y'all do that on y'all.
Yeah, yeah, right. And then Kamara said, I like the meeting Jake had with Russell because we found out information about their relationship with Papa Pope. Russell didn't know he was supposed to be caught and found out. Shane B says, Langston, for the first time, I have to give you a high five. I agree that whole romance moment was just out of place. Where'd it go? Ooh, it disappeared on me. Was just out of place. I'm sure deliberately put in to give the non-relevant Jake some airtime.
Okay, you're done.
He said I hate to say it. The last 2 minutes was great. The first 58 yawn, and that stupid scene with Jake and Russell talking fond memories of Papa Pope was a forced Jake scene, made me vomit. Okay, and then he said one question for the panel. Up until last night was the best agent ever. When in the hell did Jake become the best B613 agent that Papa Pope adored? That's what I was saying. And then he said, Kamara said, was it me or did anyone else expect the guy who came in to get Russell to kill Russell? I thought Daddy P would send an assassin to take him out. And then Kamara said there was a problem with the writing. I saw a tweet last night from Shonda where she says she is re-editing the last episode of Scandal. I know from a tweet earlier this week that Tom Verica, executive producer, was already editing and finished with it.
Okay, so he asked the question. His question for us was,
who's he?
Shane was his question for us was up until last night was Huck not the best V613 agent ever? I don't know that was ever stated, but Huck always gets the job done. He sure was not going to leave Jake just bleeding out. He would have been dead. Like there would have been no oops, I ain't get him. He was been dead. So
you know what? Actually, he was at one point on his way to being a golden boy, but Papa Pope wrote Huck off a long time ago, because remember when they sent Charlie to kill him, when they put him in the hole and they let him out, and it was his first job out was supposed to be his test. Charlie let him run, and Charlie went back and said, you know, he's dead, he's gone. And Papa Pope just looked at the file and looked at Huck's pic and just said, wow, he has such potential. So I think he wrote him off a long time ago. And then, of course, once he hooked up with Olivia, you know, he's never really, other than that one moment when he used Huck to kill the pilot from Remington, he hasn't had much use for Huck at all. So it's not that Huck's not a good agent. It's just that Papa Pope wrote him off because he, number one, had already broken the rules. Then he was put in the hole. Then he got out, didn't finish a job, and then he was on the run. So, you know, other than the fact that Olivia saved him, Papa Pope really doesn't deal with Huck that much.
So Kamara asked if anyone else expected the guy who came to get Russell to kill Russell. She thought that Papa Pope would send an assassin to take Russell out. Do you have any reason that you would see for Papa Pope not actually killing Russell? Do y'all have any ideas on that?
Well, because he asked him a simple question: Did you tell them about Foxtail? He said no, and
right.
And if had he hesitated or said yes, yeah, he'd be dead. But I think that was the first thing that they wanted to know. Did you tell them about Foxtail? If he told them about Foxtail, then yeah, that was the reason he would be dead. But because, and I'm sure they'll interrogate him further when they get him back, but because it's like you don't want to ask him the question, and then if he's lying, you've killed him, and then he has told them, and then your whole situation is blown. They're gonna take him back and debrief him. They're not good, you know, because it would be a mistake to kill him if he did tell them.
Because well, I asked the question. Go ahead.
They have to do damage control.
I asked the question about last night's episode's writing, and Gladiator in England said that last night's episode was unrealistic and uninspired. And then Sweet Treats Forever, she said, hello, guys. She's listening. She said she liked the episode, but some parts she could do without, like the Jake Russell scene. So that's a unanimous scene that people were just like, why is this in here?
I have to ask the question, what made it unrealistic?
Okay, that's a good question. So Sweet Treats Forever, you can answer that. I'm quite sure you're still listening. You'll be able to respond. The case from last night. Now, I know that we had some quotes. You stole her, Susan, put her back. You are the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. The Navy is an armed force. That was what Susan said to Fitz. The case from last night, how do you think that played out? Did you see the twist at the end?
No, I didn't see the twist at the end at all, because I thought it was exactly what they said it was, that they put in a ringer to ruin the case, you know, because he did come off as very bumbling and goofy and not knowing what the hell he was doing at all. So that totally hit me out of nowhere, that, you know, that he was actually a B613 agent who was planted, you know, to deal with this whole situation.
What about you, Eldia?
Yeah, I didn't see that coming at all. I was surprised by that. When I watched that, I went when it was the scene with Liv and Quinn, and they were at the base, and I saw Quinn's eyes sort of start going there. I actually thought it had something to do because they had just cut from the scene where it was Huck and Russell, if I believe, and Huck was still torturing him. And so I thought maybe Quinn had noticed something that, like, maybe Huck had taken from there, and she was like, "Oh shit, what is Huck doing? Like, we need to, you know what I mean? Right. Like, he's gonna really take this too far." So then when it tied into that, I was like, "Oh, I didn't even think about that."
You know what I thought it was at first? I thought that there was a picture of the girl and maybe the admiral together or something like that, and then we're gonna find out that she set him up or something like that. But then when they zoomed in closer and you saw the name, I almost spit my wine out because I was like, "Oh my god!" It was like, and they never get there. They never get there in time, do they? Because I was just like, "Hurry up and get there, hurry up!" But they did.
My favorite quote from last night was when Abby said, what are you going to do? You're going to ruin my day. You're going to ruin the White House's day, aren't you? That was my favorite quote. Did y'all have any favorite quotes from last night's episode?
You know what?
I think my favorite quote was when Liv and Fitz were talking, and he was like, "They were right. My job sucks," and she was like, "Mine does too." I was like, "Yes, they do. You guys have crappy jobs."
Wow.
I don't know if it. I can't say that I had a favorite quote, but one of my favorite moments was the scene when Mellie came in and goes, "What are we doing about this thing? How are we handling this?" and blah blah blah. And I hope that we're handling this because we're not monsters. I hope that we're doing this because we're gonna take care of this because we're not monsters. And just the whole nonverbal communication between she and Fitz. When he was like, "There's nothing I can do," but she was raped, and he's like, "There's nothing I can do," and it's just like there's that look where he was like,
disappointing her all over again.
It's like I get it, but I can't do anything to help her.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, and just like he couldn't do anything to help Mellie. So, and just the way she left the room was just like. All that came to my mind in that moment was, wow, what a punch in the gut.
Yeah. That was really good. Well, see, that's always easy to. All right, so did anyone? Okay, I'm a woman. Why don't I have women? And then the whole scene about Mellie wanting to, not Mellie, but her. What's the girl's name? That Portia de Rossi. Yeah, wanting her to. I brought reality in like Eldia. Elizabeth North, Lizzie here.
That's a rap lyric right there. I bring in reality like Eldia. I'm gonna make you see her.
So in that scene, she basically wanted Mellie to go to this town and really talk up the issue of Jerry and all that stuff. And Mellie was like, "I'm not having this stuff. You're not about to sit here and make me relive my son's death." And then also the idea of the rape and it tying back into Jerry and how Jerry was conceived or supposedly conceived. It was really a good duality to that part of the episode. But when she said, "I'm a woman, why don't I have women?" Almost like it's her entitlement to have women just because she's a woman. And you see Hillary Clinton running now for president, and you have to think the same thing. Is she going to pull in women because she's a woman? So did anyone think, because to me, I see that there's an issue that's going to come to divide Fitz and Mellie with this new closeness that they've gotten to form. So did anyone think that Mellie was actually Foxtail?
No. And you know what?
No.
The funny thing about it is I'm surprised that I didn't make the connection because I knew that Fitz was Falcon and that Andrew was Finch. And so I didn't make the connection with the fact that it was an F name and that it could be a code name. But that's, but the weird thing about it is that the two men are named after birds, but she's named after a weed. So I'm not quite sure what that means. So, but I was like, but it never dawned on me. It never dawned on me until he actually said foxtails, whatever that line was that he said, and foxtails secured, and I said, "Oh my God, that makes perfect sense." But because all the names start with F, and it just didn't hit me.
But that's why that scene at the end was so it was like icy. It was like the sweet icing on a really good piece of cake. You know what I mean? Like, you shouldn't be having it, but you're like, man, I'm going to just eat the icing because it was really good. Because Mellie has never, because you forget that Mellie and Papa Pope have never had any interaction. Fitz has, and Jake has, and Liv. So, he is like this mythical creature that kind of walks around that, other people within the Republic don't know exist. That's why Mellie was like, "Oh my God," with her, "Nice to meet you." She was like just so flattered that this person.
But the thing about it is, it seems like she knew him, and so that's gonna be freaky when we find out how they're connected.
I got the impression that she didn't.
I don't know. It just seemed like she had a moment of recognition, like they've had some contact at some point. She may not know who he is, but they've had some contact.
Okay.
They may
But
have
I also took
actually,
it like because Elizabeth said this was the guy who was gonna back her and help her win. So I took it more so like she needed to walk in there and make sure that she was on her like A game with her charm and her, I don't want to say flirtation, but you know.
that he may have backed Fitz's campaign. So she may know him for real from that aspect of things.
Right.
So,
And they may, and the other thing too, he may see her as the visionary to supposedly, bring the Republic back. Maybe that's why he's backing her, because she's not connected to her daughter. Well, she is connected to his daughter, but not in the way that Fitz is. So
if you're joining us live, we are tweeting back and forth with our listeners. You can join us by going to @Scandal Podcast and joining the question and answer section of our podcast. Katrina's not going to make it. She landed in traffic and is absolutely dreadful. So we are going to have to see her on next week's episode.
Tell her to get on her phone and get on here right now. She can sit in that taxi and play with us all day.
That's fine. We got trolls on here, so I'm trying to get rid of them.
Okay, I was like, are we getting? I thought are we getting played or spammed or something?
Yeah.
What did we just see? I saw something.
We got trolls. Okay, so go ahead, Aldia. Read the feedback.
So Shane B says, question for the panel, and I do not mean the Jake bash, but does it not seem like
No, we are not. We are not doing no more Jake questions and no more Jake.
No, I know. You know what? I know. I think I know what he's about to ask. Are you about to ask about that damn wall?
No,
that's not what he asked.
Let me finish. He said, but does it seem like we get more? He said, does it seem like we get more does not seem deliberate in making Jake and B613 prominent in the plot? Yes, Shane, we've discussed this like for the last 5 podcasts.
This is why I told you not to read it. Like, there's stuff on here you can skip over. Like, stop it. Okay. Y'all, we're not going to do we already established, I'm going to just make it clear, we don't love Jake. We're not Jake supporters. We're not huge Jake fans. Everybody knows it. Okay, the end. We don't have to every episode go into minutia about Jake, because I really don't care.
Okay.
Like,
he said this before. And then he said, what else did he say? He said, my favorite quote was from Melly. This is like a bad daytime soap opera writing, and all I could think was, you can say that again, Melly. And then Kamara says, Shane, I believe you are right, Shane B. And then
about what did Shane write about?
For the panel, Scandal promos have a tendency to hype us up to fall flat. Do you fear that the season, despite is it a killer promo? I think I lost it. Okay. Another troll. Okay, so a question. No. Okay, and then then Kamara said, "I've said this before, but wait till Melly finds out that he killed little Jerry. Melly is a grieving mother. We may not have to wait for Mama Pope. Melly may kill him herself. Is it possible that Lizzie Bear is also B613?"
No.
Lizzie Bear? You think so?
No. If she was B613, if she was B613, she would have been prepared for Huck the next time he came back to her house. He had already been there once, so she would have been prepared for him the second time if she was B613.
Yeah. She's not B613.
Okay, so Sweet Treats Forever says she loved the twist. They sure got her with that one. She thought that he was a really sloppy lawyer, but he was B613. She had no clue that Melly was Foxtail. It got her. They got her. And then she says she thinks Melly knows Papa Pope because Lizzie brought him on board, like how he backed Leo during the Sally campaign. And then we have a comment on Twitter. Nana Hawa Muhammad says, hi, can I ask a quick question? Sure, you can ask a quick question. That's what we're here for. We have, the floor is open, ma'am. So yes, definitely ask your question as we move along with all of this. So, Kamara, she said, I've said this before, but wait till Melly finds out that he killed little Jerry. Oh my God. That is going to be a bomb, and I think Melly is going to become a murderer. I can't see her just taking that information in and being passive about it. She says, Melly is a grieving mother. We may not have to wait. Did you read this already, Eldia?
And why would they tell her? I mean, because they all know, but they haven't told her this thus far. So what would be the reason all of a sudden to kind of drop that bomb on her?
To let her know that she's getting in bed with. To let her know that she's getting in bed with the devil. Because if he truly is there to work to back her campaign, of course Olivia's going to tell her you don't want to get involved with him because he's the man who ordered the death of your child.
We've also established that Melly will do anything to get what she wants, so maybe Melly's okay with making a deal with the devil if it gets her where she wants to go.
I don't think so. I honestly don't think so. Not with this.
Well, she may get that check and then stab him. Thank you so much. As she's opening the envelope, and then
she might pull a Sally from Daniel Douglas.
Oh my God,
crazy!
No.
All right, so my question for all of you is,
oh my God,
what's wrong?
Nothing.
Do you see a situation coming that would divide Melly and Fitz ethically? Do you see that coming with this Foxtail situation?
Do we see anything that will do what to her?
That would divide Fitz and Melly. Like they're really close now. Like she's accepted Olivia's role in his life. She actually respects Olivia a lot. Like so the stuff that she says to what's her name, Lizzie Bear, she would never say to Olivia. So like last night it even reestablished that a lot more when Fitz was laying next to her and he said, you know what Liv would tell you to do? Throw your husband under the bus. And she was like, you really? That's what and how? You know, so she respects Olivia. I think that if Olivia were to tell her anything about Papa Pope with regards to him backing her campaign, she would listen to her. I think so, because the relationship that they've established. What do y'all think?
Yeah, I mean, just the same way that she eventually went, and just the same way that Olivia eventually went and told Fitz about Melly's rape, because ultimately it was to, make him understand that you've missed a whole situation. It's like the whole reason that we're even together is because you felt jilted by this woman and you don't understand the reason why she jilted you for so long.
Right.
So I feel, and I'm sorry, and I just feel like that would be the same thing that Olivia would do with Melly in terms of her father. She's not going to let her just go into this blind.
Right, that I understand, but I also feel like here it is with where Scandal has crammed so much into it that I feel like the writers are almost forgetting what we've already seen. It's like the last couple weeks, like Jaha was talking about, all of a sudden Melly is on the opposing side of all these issues where Fitz is concerned. And for the first 1 and 2 seasons, it was made very clear that Melly and Fitz were like pro, Republican, true black, so all these stances that Melly is taking, it doesn't really ring true to me. It rings hollow, like she's just saying what she needs to say to get elected. You know what I mean?
That's what politicians do.
That's true, and I understand that people change. Change their stance, and so maybe that's what it is. She's like, now that she's actually running, she's like, okay, I can't be, but it rings very hollow. I guess you understand what I mean. It's like because for the first 2 seasons, it was beat into us that her and Fitz, if nothing else, politically, matched up, and now all of a sudden it's like, well, it's like, come on.
Well, I mean, the same thing is happening with Hillary right now, with Hillary having switched her position on the whole 3 strikes rule and how the offenses that people should go to jail for, because they've been pointing up lately how it's like, well, back when her husband was in office, she supported this position, but now she's saying this, and either she actually has evolved on her position, as Barack Obama did with gay rights, or she's just saying it for the votes. So it's like it plays out. But I will say that for me, the season I still have enjoyed the season, but I feel like the season changed its pacing and its direction.
She's slowing it down a lot more.
It changed its direction. But I'll tell you what. It wasn't. Everybody keeps blaming it on the kidnapping. It wasn't the kidnapping. It's everything that came after the kidnapping that has changed. Because the pace, even with the kidnapping, the pace was still boom, 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 boom. But after that, I don't think it's the kidnapping that changed the pace. I think it's real world events that changed the pace. Because almost directly after the kidnapping situation, we had the shooting of the kid, the lawn chair. And although the lawn chair was a very powerful episode, it still sticks out like a sore thumb, and it should, because of the subject matter. But it did the whole positioning of this global situation of the globe of scandal started spinning on a completely different axis than it was before episode 9.
Do you think she felt pressure to do that, or do you think it was just something that, or do you think it was because it kept happening and it's like still happening and it's still every week it's something new that she felt? I mean, not pressure in a bad way, but pressure of like, oh, this isn't something that people are going to talk about for a week or two and then it's going to go away. Like like every week there's a new state or a new city or a new something. So do you think she felt pressure as like, as a woman of color and as a having a lead of color, like I need to do this, like I need to use this show to make a statement, especially coming off of the heels of Empire, because Empire came out and it was so successful, rightfully so, but it's a totally different show and it represents a totally different side of our culture. So do you think she felt pressure to maybe change and maybe make it a little bit more politically conscious and socially conscious?
But it's always been that way.
Are you done asking that long ass question?
That's why.
Because every time I went to open my mouth to answer, she just kept on going. But no, I don't feel like she felt pressure. I felt that your writing, and Jaha, you can attest to this, writing comes from an emotional place sometimes. And I think she felt emotional about the situation, and she couldn't pass up the opportunity to address it when she has, at that particular time, more than 8 million people on that particular, on this particular show. It's like you've got this audience, so use this platform to say what you want to say. And she felt some kind of way about it, so she spoke up on it. But yeah, that to me. I guess for me, there's no true connection in the second half of the season to the first half of the season, and I can't even say it was a half, because technically half would have been at 11. So the first 3/4 or whatever of the season is completely different than the last few episodes or whatever. They didn't keep the momentum going, because I think the momentum died after the momentum, not necessarily the momentum of the show for me, but the momentum of the story, because usually they have a singular through line that keeps us going, and then somewhere along the line they decided it's time to stop B613, and that changed from the whole aspect of trying to find out why Caitlyn was killed and why Faith was killed, and we still don't know why they were killed, other than the fact that they found these pictures and were hiding these pictures, and we still don't even know for sure, because now Jake threw in the whole monkey wrench of that Russell was put on surveillance on Liv for all this time, So we don't know if those pictures actually came from Russell, or did they come from, was Dad involved in this all along and gave all these pictures to them of Olivia? So it's like, what's really going on? We still haven't established why those girls were killed, because it couldn't have just been over the kidnapping, because I can't believe that this father would allow his daughter to be killed over something that really shouldn't have had anything to do with her at all. It sounds like it's something much deeper than just the Olivia kidnapping, because those pictures came out of nowhere for me.
Yeah.
All right, so my next question is question 6. Question 5. Because Jake gave Russell some insight into Olivia, do you think moving forward, because Russell's still alive in our minds, he's not been Harrisoned yet? So,
damn. Now it has a name. It has a name. You've been Harrison.
So, because of that, do you think going forward Russell will be more empathetic to Olivia? Go ahead, because I have some questions from the audience as well.
No, he's not going to be more empathetic. By the way,
well, they kind of gave you the impression that he did.
Understand?
He did have some feelings for her. He may not be in love with her, but he liked her. He liked her. And the last thing he said before he said, "Go ahead and tie me back up," he said, She never really had a chance. You're gonna keep her safe. Yeah, she never really had a chance. Are you gonna keep her safe? And he said yes.
Yeah. By the way, Columbus did an interview saying he wanted to come back. I was like, boy, go sit down.
Go host scandal parties at.
Yeah. The only way you're coming back is if they put your brain in Brian's body. So, it's like he's been dead for a whole year, but there's still brain activity.
We rose from the grave when he got
then that'll be the spin-off show. Harrison's
brain. Come back in a dream or something, a dream sequence that Olivia has. Okay, so no, do not bring it back. No. Okay, so my question is this, because you were talking about that, but I do think that he does have feelings for Olivia, because when she told Huck and Quinn to do their thing, his eyes widened, like, you really gonna let them do that? Like, really, girl? Mm-hmm. So to me, I think he thought she had more humanity than what she displayed when she came in there and sat there and said what she had to say to him about what is Foxtail. So Nana Hawa Muhammad did ask her a question. She said, do you think that Mellie may try to get Olivia as her advisor later on, since she treats Liz so bad and she listens to Mellie's advice? And then she also said, no, the answer is no. She said, I also think that Rowan has something to do with the kidnapping and Mellie is somehow connected. And then she also followed up by saying, I think so, because if Rowan had connectivity with the military, then he's capable of anything, including working with Mellie. But I doubt that Mellie is aware that Rowan is Olivia's dad. That's what she said.
Right. I think here's the thing that we all can agree on with the whole B613. It is just, and we always talk about it's taken over the show, blah, blah, blah. We all love Joe Morton, could watch him do whatever. It's nothing personal. I just feel like it's one of those things, again, and maybe I've missed it, they've never established why Rowan would do all these horrible things to his daughter. It's his daughter. Like, before she pulled a gun on him, before she was...
He's trying
to keep already sending to dick her down. Like, that's just ridiculous.
Oh, really?
It's true.
It's true. Was he really, that she helped Fitz get elected, that she fell in love with a white man, dare we say? Like, why do you hate your daughter so much, Rowan? I don't, they've never clearly established that for me. And so it's like, here it is, this is the third season now, where how much longer are we supposed to just watch him keep doing this fucked up shit to his daughter and be like, oh, it's okay because Joe Morton can really act his ass off. We'll just keep watching it.
Well, here's the thing: we have no guarantee that he didn't do the same thing to Maya. We assume that she's always been the bad guy. How do we know he didn't program her to be who she is?
Right. That's my point.
Well, he's the ultimate mind effer, so you know. I mean.
Yeah.
Hello.
Oh,
Okay.
now so you say dick, but you can't say fucker.
Whatever.
I cannot with you today, Miss Lady.
I knew you was going to say something. All right, so let's read the comments, Aldia, that we have from the audience.
So Kamara says, I know it sounds crazy, but I strongly believe that Gladiators could bring the ratings back up. We know what time it is, and we could clean up these holes. She also says, think about this. Mellie tells Fitz she met Daddy P. Then she watches all the blood drain from his face. I think the Foxtail thing will divide them. Mellie will finally show us who she really is. She may turn on everyone, i.e. Liv may be in jail. I've lost the jail point, but okay. And
no,
then
there's a scene where a quick clip where they show Olivia.
Okay, so she's talking about the promo next week. Okay, got it now. And then she also says, sometimes I don't think the writers do their homework. Shonda stated that she doesn't watch the show, but you have to revisit old shows so that the work flows well and makes sense. That's why I say hire some gladiators to write for the show.
Wow.
I don't think we need to write for the show.
No.
No.
You stop getting people out of a job, Aldia. I would love to write for Scandal, and I think I need Katrina and Langston as advisors, and Aldia, of course, you're coming along because we're all one big family.
That's what I was going to say.
Well, I just
hire us. We are for hire. The whole team. Stop playing, y'all. Don't say nothing outside of that, Langston.
No,
don't do it.
I'm just gonna say I believe that some gladiators could write for Scandal, but not all gladiators could write for Scandal because not all gladiators are equal. Some gladiators don't pay attention. Shame.
Right.
If you're a black box over your mouth, so
why you put a black box over my mouth?
You see how you do me? I did not put that box over your mouth. The box is just covering your mouth. You gotta like sit up or something.
Okay.
No single couple shippers allowed to write.
No, but it doesn't matter if the black box is over my mouth because you weren't reading my lips. You could actually hear me.
But it was almost like a censor bar.
Okay, that's all right. I can put over my eyes and you can still hear me. But at the end of the day, not all people are created equal in terms of their appreciation of whatever.
Aldia, the shade tree is right.
I'm just saying that not everybody can appreciate the writing for what it is, and and at the end of the day, I think it's wrong to say that the writers don't do their homework, because that's like for instance, this whole debate today about whether or not there's a connecting wall between Lois's apartment and Olivia's apartment.
I just did
I'm
not
like,
engage.
are you really serious? You've got people who are actually there on set probably every day, so they know exactly how the place connects. Then on top of it, it's like if you were paying any attention to any of the episodes where we've been inside Olivia's apartment, specifically the kidnapping episode where we found out that there's a hallway that leads back to her bedroom, that outside of that hallway, out on the outside of the apartment, when you go out the door, immediately to your right, there's a stairwell, which we saw Jake go down. So, of course, that's where the hallway leads, and Olivia's room wraps around that section. So that means that there is a connection between two apartments that are on the same floor. It's impossible not to have a connection between the two of them. So to say that the writers were wrong about that is actually a misnomer, and it's wrong on your part. So I'm just gonna say pay closer attention to the details on the show, because you're probably the one that's gonna get dumped into a trunk someday because you weren't paying attention to the stuff that was all around you.
Langston said that he has read y'all for filth, and on top of reading y'all for filth, he shaded you and he's buried you. He allowed y'all to get kidnapped and thrown in a trunk. Anyway, so we're going to read the comments that we're getting here. I have a lot over here. Sweet Treats Forever says, somehow she doesn't think that Mellie will find out that he killed Jerry. That would jeopardize Fitz, Olivia, and Mellie knowing about that. I don't know what that means. Fitz and Olivia, Melly knowing about that. New cans of worms will open up. Girl, that is the whole point of the show. Melly is hungry for power. Eventually, she will part ways with Fitz. She has accepted what is between Olitz and knows nothing is going to change. Melitz is just partners right now, helping out each other. Russell is true B613. He did not give out any information with all that torturing between Huck and Quinn. He likes her, guess because the sex was good, but he still kept those lips sealed. He was even willing to kill himself rather than to say what Foxtail was. That is absolutely true. I am not going through those links of murdering myself just because I don't want you to know that Foxtail is Melly. What do you have on the Q&A app, Eldia? And if your questions are about Jake, please skip over them because I just don't want to make this a Jake plus Scandal podcast episode.
Yep.
Okay.
Shane, talking to you.
Kamara says, "Amen, Eldia. Why is Rowan doing all these things to live? Bad writing. I adore Joe Morton, and the man is so fine for an older man, but this guy is crazy." And then she said, Kamara also said, "Jaha, I want to write for the show too. I'm glad someone agrees. My dream job." And then she also says,
wait, no, slow down. Wait now, Kamara. Ain't nobody pull you in on this team effort that we trying to get. Not on this campaign, Kamara. Maybe we'll vet you and we'll bring you in on the campaign of getting Scandal Podcast.
And then she said, Harrison, that's a good one, Jaha. And then Shane said, Kamara, I agree. It's like the writers have a different direction they want to take Olivia and the show, so each show does not connect to the prior except for B613. He said Harrison loved it. He said, good question, Eldia. He also said, I think Rowan
listen how she said her name. Eldia.
Eldia.
Well, that's how
I also think Rowan was protecting. He said, I also think Rowan was protecting Olivia, which is why Jake was originally sent in, but is disappointed that Olivia settled for being a mistress rather than being the light he raised her to be. He didn't raise her to be. She was at school, Shane. And then he says, does anyone feel that Fitz used this situation to find a way to get a divorce by giving Liv what she needed? It's a very good point. Shane B said, I think Papa Pope is going to use Melly to get Olivia and Fitz to stop the B613 investigation. And that's it.
I have to say about the promo bit where people talk about promos, I don't watch them. I learned several seasons ago to stop watching them things only because for my peace of mind and sanity, if I kept watching them promos, I was going to go crazy. So I don't watch promos. Right. I tend to not. I will go into the Scandalistas and Scandalati group and I'll engage a little bit, but to get into the depth of which people want to take things and to enjoy some and I don't want to say this because it sounds bad, but to indulge people in ignorance, I don't have time for that. So sometimes you just got to know when to turn it off or turn it down. I am not.
That's the only person that engages in ignorance. So what you gonna do?
But to turn down the mic a little bit so that you're able to have your own thoughts and opinions without so much influence and confluence of somebody else's thoughts and opinions, I tend to turn it down a little bit. I love discussing the episode after it so we can get an understanding of everybody's viewpoint. That I love, but to argue back and forth over something, I don't have time for that. And to see the promos and then be like, ooh, it's going to be so good. And then we get it and you're like, ah, schnizzle bits, it wasn't that good. Like, I don't want that. So I like to be surprised when I'm watching. So, and even when y'all tweet me, I haven't watched the episode until I watched the episode in the morning. So on Friday morning, that's when I watch. So when y'all are tweeting me, I just don't. Or if I'm either on Facebook and I glance my eyes past it like I don't see it because I just can't. I can't do that until it's time for me to watch it for my own opinion. And for me, last night's episode had some spots where I think the editing just should have been tighter and we could have gotten a better episode, a cleaner episode. That's how I feel about last night's episode, personally. So, yeah. The last question, because we're about to go into the Scandal Podcast After Dark, and we're about to talk all about some good stuff, and Katrina should be joining us for that. And if not, then next week we'll all be together once again. Kumbaya. So last night's episode, do you think that our expectation from what I just said, do you think what our expectations are of each episode of Scandal. Do you think that as viewers we are being unrealistic about our high bar of quality that we feel like Scandal has set for us?
I do. I feel like no matter what they put on, we're going to be like, oh, it wasn't, we're always comparing it. We're like, oh, well, in season 2 or in season 2, not season 3 really. But I feel like we've discussed this before, there is a hardcore group of fans who, for whatever reason, refuse to enjoy, like Langston just said it earlier, like with the writing, they refuse to just enjoy the show for what it is this season. They keep looking back to season 1 and looking back to season 2, and they're like, well, we were promised all these things and we never got them. And it's like, well, it's not as if the show is ending. You know what I mean? You have another episode, you have another season, you have another scene. I do feel like this year there's just been a lot of continuity-wise. I just feel like the season just hasn't made sense for me. And I don't know if it will when I go back and rewatch it over the summer. Like sometimes when you watch it with a fresh set of eyes and a different perspective, maybe I'll see the things that Langston has pointed out or something like that. But for the most part, I do feel like our expectations are ridiculous because it's like people are like, well, if Olis is together, then why am I going to keep watching this show? Because people feel like that is supposed to be the end game. And I think very early on, Shonda said, don't assume that that's the end game here. Don't assume that they won't end up, happily ever after, in Vermont, making jam, so to speak. So yes, I do feel like our expectations are too high, and I feel like we need to just watch the show, enjoy it for what it is, because we don't get a lot of shows, and I feel like when we get them, we watch them, we support them, and the minute we become unhappy with them, they take them off the air. Then people are like, oh, we don't have shows. But if you remember correctly, Dallas was on the air for 17, well, maybe not 17, but they were on the air from 79 to 92. So my point was
70 years, damn.
Well, I was thinking I was 79 to what was it, 92? But there were seasons in there too. The Dream season when Patrick Duffy left and they had to rewrite it because fans were so outraged. People hated that season. The season, the later years when JR was married to the ditzy blonde, people did not like, but they still watched. They didn't go, well, I'm not going to watch it. It was like they still showed up in droves to support that show.
You also have to remember. You also have to remember those were the days before the internet. So.
And instant gratification. And honestly, I feel like I don't compare episodes to episodes. So you're not going to hear me say on episode blah 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 that was better. I compare what happened in that episode. When we talk on here, I don't ever go back to seasons. I always talk about what I saw in this present episode. Just because for me, this is the information I am unhappy with in that episode. The episode was good. I mean, I can't say it wasn't. We really didn't touch on the fact that, this young lady was raped and then she had to have an abortion, which is a direct contrast to what happened with
How powerful was that?
That was a powerful scene because they did the abortion on air. That was important.
And I want to address something because people yesterday were like, well, I don't get what the whole warning was about. I was like,
what?
They didn't understand what the warning was about because I guess, people are so jaded, because they did the same warning when Huck was being tortured. And, Huck was just beaten. Huck was waterboarded and beaten. But with Russell, we saw a drill jammed. I mean, literally people have become so jaded. And so,
look, when I saw the fingernail peeled off, I had to take my headphones off. It was
right, because it's we literally, it was like they didn't pull away. They didn't pull away regarding the drill. I mean, we watched her push the drill into his knee. We watched her yank a fingernail off of his finger. And people were like, I don't get what the warning was about. Oh, okay. So now y'all are so that's the word I was looking for. So desensitized to the torture and the murder that now a warning needs to, it needs to be high gore. Or, I also said that I felt like maybe they gave that warning too because of the rape storyline. Because it could traumatize somebody. But somebody was like, yeah, well, it didn't traumatize me. Well, okay, but you may have never been raped. So therefore, no, it's not going to traumatize you.
True.
But, yeah.
But also, you know, and again, another reason for the warning, because I remember being when I was a kid, there was a sitcom where somebody, I think it was Family Ties or something, where somebody was about to give birth, and our parents literally turned the TV off because they didn't want us to see that.
Yeah.
And here we have somebody on air, you know, you turn on the machine, and he's like, I'm like,
I had to skip through the scene. I don't even know how long it lasted. I was like, nope. Like, there's so many things that I think that as that episode did cover and touch on, because being pregnant and being raped, having a baby, the whole issue of women's rights and what we are able to control as our bodies and our choices, and that always being and connecting it to Hillary, like not even consciously, but connecting the idea of the fact that we're always in the battle of figuring out if women should be able to have free abortions without it being illegal. And Hillary is running for president now, so it's tying all of that together. All of this, A Few Good Women. So, of course, that episode talking about A Few Good Women, and how really in this episode, with regards to that ensign, that Olivia and Quinn were the ones that really pushed that case to make it work. That guy was superfluous. Like, he was just there, a physical figure with the Navy uniform on. Because he wasn't even in the damn Navy. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I think with that, and then also with Mellie running and Mellie being out in the forefront and saying what she said about what was going on with the military, that was powerful. And Abby standing at the podium and she's doing the same thing. Oh, I loved it. I thought it was epic. It was epic. All right, so the last thing we're going to do today is read the last of the comments from Kamara and, of course, Shane, since they're like extended gladiators at this point. So, LD, what do you have?
Okay, so the last comments coming out of the gate is, it says, Kamara Harrington, it says, no, we're not being unrealistic. There's nothing wrong with expecting the episodes to make sense. With that being said, I do think they had some really good episodes this season. I loved Dallas. Me too. And then she says, preach, Langston. They should always have a warning. They should always have a warning with Scandal because of the carnage every other week. And then Kamara also, oh, where'd he go? Okay, here it starts at the bottom. Sorry. It said it's 2015. The viewers of the show now are more engaged and more, where'd it go? Oh, and more intelligent. We enjoy the show We enjoy the show in a different way than was done 20 years ago. And then he also agrees with Kamara. And then he said declining viewership does not mean that viewers are not understanding and patient. It's because the storylines are not interesting enough to sustain viewers.
I honestly don't care. Like, I'm honestly saying that I don't. It's not. Look, I like the show. I enjoy the show. Sometimes do I feel like, ugh? Yes, of course I do. But at the end of the day, am I caring about ABC's ratings for a show? No, because guess what? They got to take care of that. That has nothing to do with me. I'm going to continue to watch. So for me, declining viewership does not indicate my level of interest or disinterest in anything. So that's how I feel about it. Like, y'all are harping on the numbers. Who cares? Because the reality is, when it comes, and I'll just be real clear here, when it comes to anything Black, we always compare it against the other thing. And we've been talking about this in the Scandal podcast After Dark for months. We compare it against each other. Like, we can't have both. We have to have one or the other. And this show is not even a Black show. There is literally one Black character aside from Olivia on this show. So Olivia is the main character. She's a Black character. But at the end of the day, the show is not a Black show. But you compare Empire against Scandal and say Scandal is lacking because you're comparing you're comparing apples and oranges. They don't go together. So I personally don't feel like, because you'll find Empire, I watched episodes of Empire where I'm just like, what the hell? Like, who would believe this part of this show? Like, that just didn't make sense. Even actors looked uncomfortable saying the words that come out their face. So for me, I don't look at things as it's one or the other. It's a decline in viewership because of this or that. Sometimes do I have to suspend every ounce of my common sense? Yes. But at the end of the day, it's still a good show, and we still have a great show on air that we can still enjoy. That's full of drama, and I absolutely love. So if you don't like it, then don't watch it.
Yeah. And goodbye, guys. We'll see you next
And a brand new shade tree has sprouted. Thank you. I'm
We're going
so
into
proud.
Dark Sea
After Dark. See you guys.
Bye.